And this piece is the first one that I cut. So I cut the heart out, left the roots behind, and it's produced an abundance of shoots, all of which are far too close together. And so if we want to get, so imagine I've got two original plants both flowering, I've got two plants with the heart cut out and they're sprouting merrily, and this is just an enormous abundance of shoots, and really all I really wanted is one in each pot. So I'm going to have to be very, very mean and very brutal. Some of the root pieces in here may only have made one shoot, in which case that's straightforward, but often a root will make more than one shoot, so then we have to break this apart and try and create each one as a separate plant. Well, hopefully everyone's prepared for just how terrible this is going to look. I'm going to take this plant like this. I'm going to give it a good shake out like this. Get as much soil off as I can. Get it out of the pot like that. The pot goes over there. We stand it up again. Right, there's still far, far, far too many shoots on this plant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to break it down piece by piece like this and see how many pieces have actually just got one shoot per root. And there's a shoot that's broken off. I'll just stick it over the back there. So we have another one here, and this one has actually got a decent amount of roots for the plant, so that will go into that pile. Then we come here and we find another big chunk of root, but actually with lots of different shoots on it. So what I'm going to do, apart from removing the snail, is I'm going to break the shoots off piece by piece and stick them over there. And then that leaves me with a heart which has got root and some fibre and a plant, and that will go into that pile. And we're going to keep going, breaking it down and just trying to see if we can get as many pieces as possible, each individually with a root. So here we are again, we're breaking it down. You can see several nice pieces, and here again there's two young pieces which are coming off without any root, and then we've got a bigger plant here with plenty of root. So it looks like we're getting a reasonable number. Here we are again. So we take off the shoots, the extra shoots, one by one, and just leave each piece of root with one shoot, and that goes into that pile. We come over here, we do the same trick. We're looking again, take the extra shoots off like that. So we've just got one piece left with roots. And then we've got to the knotty original bigger piece here, which is going to be more of a challenge. So we're going to break off individual shoots like that, put them over there. And you can see these shoots are actually quite big. So what I might do here is get the knife out and just merrily cut down there like that. And then we get to the point where we have a nice piece here with shoot and a root. That's what we want. And then we have another piece here with multiple shoots, which we will try and wiggle out, and it will involve breaking them off. There's no two ways about that. So we break some pieces off like that. There's another one here, and then we're going to be probably, I shall do this one like this there. Okay, so, and there's another one. Okay, so we now have probably about 10 pieces which have actually got roots like this, of varying sizes, that we can pot straight into either 7cm or 9cm, depending on how big the actual plant is. And you can see, as I said earlier, the first thing the root does is make a shoot. That's the first thing it does. It makes a shoot first. The shoot then produces the hormones, which then allows that piece of root to produce this fibrous root, which allows it to keep growing. And then if you look over here, we have a whole series of pieces of varying sizes with almost no root or a little root stub, pieces like that. And each one of these I'm going to make into a cutting. Okay, so now we're going to do the next piece of brutality. Each piece that comes here like this has got to be dramatically and substantially reduced in order to become a cutting. So we're going to have to take off all the lower leaves. We're going to have to take off the majority of the other leaves. So you end up with a little stub like that. That one's probably about in balance. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to get the plant in balance. So we've severely disrupted its balance by removing all its roots. The plant will try and live. It doesn't want to die, it wants to live. But what it will have to do is to restore its balance. And the only way it can restore its balance is by growing roots. So we want to put it in the right kind of conditions, enough so that it can grow roots. We mustn't tax it by asking it to support too much top. So we want it to support as little top as possible. And then this piece, as I say, will then become a cutting. Yes, it looks brutal, and yes, it is brutal. And some of these little bits may actually already have a whisker of a root hair on them, but we're going to treat them as cuttings all the same. So this piece is just absolutely minimalist. There's just a little tiny piece of stem there with a leaf. We'll just have to do that. That's all we can do. Here we are. And you can see some of the leaves are removing are sort of slightly yellowy. So actually they're probably best removed anyway. And you can see here I'm taking about 2/3 of each of the leaf blade off, like that. Here we are again. And then we'll take about 2/3. You can see how I do that. Take that much off there. So I'm taking a lot off. But as I say, you've got to recreate the balance. And if the balance is wrong and the plant is having to lose too much moisture, it will not be able to survive. So it's about working out in your head roughly how much moisture that little piece of plant needs in order to survive. And once you've worked out how much moisture it can take in from here, you've then got to work out how much top can that support. And the correct answer is not very much. So when I've done these pieces like this, I'm going to put them into a plug tray, and each piece will individually go into a plug tray, and then we will just have to see how it goes. And the original plant I had, which was probably about 2 years ago, I just took little side shoots like this and rooted them in a plug tray. And the reason for doing it in a plug tray is because these Verbascum in particular do not want a close atmosphere. They want what we call a very dry atmosphere to do well. If the atmosphere is too close, that's too humid, they will really suffer and they won't work well. Okay, so each one of these pieces is now going to be individually worked into the plug of a plug tray. So we'll just put it in. Again, we firm it in, but it must not be too deep. It's got to be just at the right level. So it's got to be firmed in enough to stand up, but it has to be at the right level. Some of them I can just push in like this, and the really thin ones, the skinny ones like this, I'm going to have to use a label as a dibber, and again they need to go in just so the crown is actually above the surface of the compost. If they're too deep, they will not work. So they've got to be just right. And this is when you're propagating things, it's really about knowing what the limits of the plant are. And if you get the limits right, if you get the actual things right, often a lot of what you do can look really quite rough and ready and can look quite brutal. But actually it's just the bits that are important are all correct. However rough and ready it looks, however, whatever you use, whether you root in sand or vermiculite or, you know, anything, plastic beads, you can root in anything, whatever you do, however you do it, so long as the actual requirements are right, then the plant will work. And we'll just put these in, and then we'll see what kind of proportion actually work as a result of all this. Remember, every plant I have is a plant that I didn't have 2 years ago. So it's going to be a net increase, whatever happens. Even if I only get 2 out of this. I started the year with 2. I've still got my 2 original plants. I've got 1 big pot full of root cuttings that I haven't touched yet. And then I've got all these shoots. I've got 7-9 centimeters out there. I've got all these shoots going in here. There's 8 in a row, so that's 16. And that will give me 17, 18. Like this. And then obviously do not forget, never forget to do the labelling. And I think the greatest thing to learn when you're playing with plants is just experiment. Experiment, experiment, experiment. Make notes and learn as you go. So I've now got 18 plugs. I've got 7-9 centimetre. I've still got my original 2 plants that I had at the beginning of the year. So I'm on my way in terms of getting the numbers up. So I've managed to get 7 pieces with roots, and you can see I've done a lot of leaf removal. In fact, I've removed probably about 2/3 of the leaf. And also it's very critical with Verbascum that you don't plant them too deeply. So if you look carefully, I've done it so the crown is just above the compost, and when it's watered, the crown will definitely be just above or at the compost level. And so we've managed to get 7-9 centimeters from this pot so far. Right, follow up on the Verbascums. This is the first one that I did. Potted back up into a 5-litre pot and away it goes. This is the second one that I did. I cut the heart out and put it into a 3-litre. It's absolutely fine, probably needs to move up a little bit. The second one that I cut, you can see here, is sprouting away very merrily. So the roots were left in the pot and the centre was cut out and put into a new pot. And this is those root pieces rooting away really well.